Welcome, welcome. Looks like we're live. Coach Santos, Stockton, California. Problem Gamblers Unite. Problem Gamblers Unite. Hola, Natalie. This is your hour of power. Your solution live. Number 233. All the way from Stockton, California. Shout out to LinkedIn. Shout out to YouTube. Shout out to Facebook. Will you join me tonight on this broadcast? Will you be a part of this broadcast tonight here with me? Are you depressed? Are you depressed? I'm depressed. Join me tonight. We're going to take on this topic. We have a proverb. We're going to give, looks like Captain Jim is with us all the way from Tucson, Arizona. Natalie's with us. Let me put up we've got a fantastic hour of power. So I'm going to invite you to bring your pen, and hopefully you invited a friend. Get inside, strap on your seatbelt nice and tight, lock the door, turn down all distractions, please. Turn down all distractions, please. All visitors welcome. You can chat with me. You can come on the camera if you want. We're going to give the opportunity here. We've got a little clip. We've got a little clip that we're going to be playing here sometime on the broadcast. We're going to take on this topic, and we're going to see if I can support somebody on the airwaves tonight that's really depressed. You're just feeling it, you know? You're feeling it, and you decided to go for a walk, and you have found yourself in front of this video online. Thank you for being a part of this. If you have a question that you want to ask, you've got something, I'm going to do my best to answer questions, but I got to be more straightforward, folks. I think I got to be more straightforward. I don't know about you, but I'm always dealing with pain. Pain's become my buddy, so I got to find ways to get comfortable. That's why you see me moving around a lot, because I'm in pain. Anyways, you got to make the best of what you can, though. So we've got 45 minutes here. I see the numbers are climbing. Very good. Again, shout out to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Jim, if you want to join me on the camera, you're welcome to do that. I'm going to be bringing on let me see. Actually, it's not going to be 1 hour. It's going to be about 10 to 15 minutes, maybe depending on the activity that I get. Hold on. Okay, let me get out of there. I don't need that. Why do I don't need a live chat. Come on. All right. Stop. Technology, man, it's like taking over, It's like, anyways, we're going to listen to a little bit of one of my best digital coaches that through the times of my depression, and we all go through depression, I've always turned to him. So we're going to get a chance to listen to him. I'll keep him a secret here for a little bit. Um, yeah, let me put the link up. Am I good? Can you guys hear me okay? I got the I know I got to get my headset. I'm going to make some other changes, but right now I'm just excited to be here to be able to manage my life through depression because depression's real. I was listening to somebody say 10% of the population are depressed. 10% are depressed. I don't know how many are deeply depressed, but 10% doesn't seem like a big number. And this talk host or whatever, they were doing a research with a doctor. She said before introducing the doctor, 10% of the population are depressed. And I said, well, 10% of the population where? The gambling population, the world, the United States, Russia, China. Anyways, 10% of people alive are depressed. 10%. So, all right. Yeah, let me get the link here. Settings, present, invite. I hope you guys are. I see there's a few tonight here. Okay, copied. There we go. So, oh, by the way, welcome community, welcome guests, welcome. Might have forgotten to say that, huh? Getting ahead of myself here. By the way, what is gambling? No, what is depression? What is it? What is depression? And is there a cure? Is there a cure for depression? What can you do? I got a proverb I'm going to be reading here in a few minutes, Proverb 15. I really enjoyed reading that proverb. I enjoy reading the proverb every time I read it. It's for me, the Bible is very it the Bible has been helping me with fight my own depression. I avoided depression when I was gambling a lot. I avoided depression when I was gambling a lot. But once I broke the curse of gambling, then I had to face depressions of all kinds. And I still face depression. The difference now is that number one, I I understand that depression isn't something that we can just crush like gambling. I accept it, I manage my life, and I use life hacks. It's what I'm going to share, hopefully, with you. If you're interested, listen, if you're not interested, tell me to go away. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, Jim. Now, now Jim looks a little depressed to
Hello,
me.
Santos. Good evening.
Jim looks a little depressed to me. So let's see if maybe we can support Jim. All right. Can Let me see if my microphone is going to hold up. The the last time I used it, it fell. Are we still working? Are we good?
It's a little bit lower in volume, but we can still
Okay.
hear you.
I'll just keep it close to me. I got to get a lapel because it's hard for me to hold. You know, I just turned 57 years, and I feel like a kid, but like, my body is like arguing with me. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Anyways, I get beat up all the time, man. The body wins. But so hello everyone. Yeah, so Jim, we're gonna let me go ahead, Jim. What's on your mind you were gonna say? How to time? Tristan Booski.
Yeah. So today's topic is depression. And yeah, I was thinking about depression. I was thinking about how depression, there's many things you can talk about in regards to depression. Depression, you can refer to depression as maybe like a cavalcade of just constant losses. You something goes wrong here, then another thing goes wrong, another thing goes wrong, and then it's like everything you see, everything is going wrong. you know, and it can go ahead and bring down your emotions and just beat you up.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and it can be like a really negative, like it's like a negative feedback deal that just takes you down and down and down. It's like
A rough
one,
bike
something
ride.
bad happens. Yeah, something bad happens, makes you
Mhm.
feel bad, right? Right? Causes you to lose motivation or not handle the situation in a positive way. And then you're going to have another loss. It takes you down, it makes you feel bad. And then you drop further and then you start feeling bad about yourself.
The
It's like something's
symptoms.
not right. Right. And it
You,
just keeps on dragging you down.
cause
And,
and
that,
effect.
yeah,
Cause and
and that
effect.
that negative feedback loop has to be short circuited, because it's like you can just keep on going down and down and down. And I was having
Mhm.
a conversation with someone, and I was kind of commenting on how it's easy to take the victim role, like you don't have any power or
Yep.
you don't have any
You,
understanding. It's
you,
easy, so you don't have any responsibility. But when that happens, you become dependent upon the situation in life, all the things, and a lot of negative things are coming at you, and it's like this is awful, and
mhm.
nothing's going right, but I don't take any responsibility. You know, I'm gonna choose that safe place,
Wait,
and then it just get the situation just keeps on going down and down and down, gets worse and worse and worse, unless you intervene and say, you know what, I need to take responsibility for this situation.
I, I,
And sometimes people have been beat up so much they can't.
yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today about a friend of ours that was, I think he was very young. I don't think he was in his 20s. Yeah, he became so suppressed. He became so depressed. This was sometime after 2011, and he hung himself on a tree in his backyard. And he comes from a big family, and yeah, the little his little sister, from what I understand, his name was Guy. His little sister found him hanging in the backyard. And I've had quite a few young people, man, that they become so severely depressed. I had a female friend. She was in her 20s. She was so depressed. Another one. This was like over the last, probably the last 10 years. So, I want to read a proverb here too, real quick, but I want to make sure that, we're here, and I want to make sure that we don't create an environment of depression, first of all, because we have to work through depression. That's one of the things that I've learned, is that you have to work through. And I know that we're going to talk about this topic. You have a question, and if you're a gambler out there, as Jim was mentioning in what he was just saying, um, you are you could be suffering severely. You could be visiting this program, or you could be headed towards some really bad depression. And I'm going to tell you one of the things, I ask myself, where does depression come from? Where does it come from? Let me read the proverb, and then we'll get into the discussion here a little bit and see. I see Barry Bob here. I see Rice Goat. I see Keith. Out of time. Tristan Buski. That that name sounds familiar. I'm not. It almost looks familiar. Like I know you. Um, and I withdrew money from these scammers in early May. Okay, let me get into this. Proverbs 15:27 says, "He that is greedy of gain," says, this is Proverbs 15:27 says, "He that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house, but he that hateth gifts shall live. The heart of the righteous studieth the answer, but the mouth of the wicked poureth out evil things. That's interesting that Proverb says the mouth, right? Out of the mouth, we pour out wicked things. And, we're not pouring out per se, but then again, if you spit on somebody, you are physically pouring out because you can spit disease on somebody. I hear this, right? We hear this all the time, but we're talking about words. We're talking about the invisibleness of the power of the words that come out of our mouths. And of course, what comes out of your mouth is actually coming from your heart. It's coming from inside you. So that's an interesting proverb. Um, I can tell you the gambler has a big challenge in front of him. The person that is gambling today and spending money and going to the casinos, if he hasn't fallen into a deep depression yet, if he doesn't stop, I'm talking about the problem gambler. I'm not talking about the gambler that goes frequently. They may not have a problem, but the problem gambler falls into a bad state of depression during the gambling phase and after the gambling phase. So it's not going to go away. Jim, I got a question for you. Do you think that depression? Do you think it's ever going to go away? You probably know the answer, huh?
Well, I mean, I
or do
I
we
think
manage it?
we need this versus sad, maybe
Mhm.
feeling sad. There are sad times in life. We can't escape that. We lose people, we
Grieve.
lose things. Terrible
Yeah.
things happen.
But that's grieving.
Yeah,
There's a
grief.
difference
I
between
think I
grieving
think
and being
depression
depressed.
is
They're
yeah.
yeah. They're very close, but
hmm
yeah,
there's moments, but depression seems to be it seems to be more sinister, more drawn out, and it can just pull a person's life in the wrong direction. I mean, we do need. I mean, like we need sad times. Um, I guess to put
yeah,
perspective in life, we can't
yeah.
escape sad times. Depression, however, um, I think I think we need to take an intentional effort to understand when depression can come around and how to fight it. Because depression is like chaos. It'll bring you down and destroy you if you let it. So
Mhm.
I mean, the opposite side of depression takes effort and energy, and you have to make a choice. You know, you got to really say that I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to feel like this. You
Yeah.
I don't want it. And I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to get organized, and I'm going to figure out a way to get out of this because I don't want this. It's just ruining my life. Now that takes a lot of um, you got to care about yourself in that regard, and you got to be aware. You got to be aware of like what's happening because sometimes people can go ahead and just get like phased into depression and they don't even know it. They start feeling bad, and another day they feel bad. Having some kind of awareness, I think, is important. What's going on? I feel bad. Why am I feeling bad? This has been happening for a while. I don't like this. You know, what's going on? And depression can be a real. I seen people who have serious depression, and I can't tell them to just have a positive attitude. Some people actually need medication. Some people have such severe depression that they need therapy, they need medication, they need support, in order to be in a better place. Yeah, I don't like medication. I don't like medication. I don't like chemicals. I've heard that Xanax, is which is an antidepressant, is like more addictive than like heroin or something like that. And the
Yeah,
doctors
there's
and the
some
people are
tablets, yeah.
prescribing that stuff, rampantly.
Yeah. Yeah, they're tablets. Now, I want to read something. because I said I wanted to play a few towards the end of this broadcast. I want to play at least 10 minutes of my one of my digital coaches that I really appreciate. Anytime that I've gone through a depression, I turn to this guy, and I listen to his videos, and I'll listen. I don't watch this one video I've watched, but I'll listen to the audio mostly. I'll just keep playing it over and over. Um, Instead of wasting time with other stuff, I'll just play things that I want to listen to in the background, even if it becomes redundant. It's not redundant to my subconscious because my subconscious is picking it up. But listen what it says about depression. It says depressive. Now, I'm not going to say I agree with this or I disagree with this. I'm just going to read, and you can be the judgment of yourself upon what you think. But we're one thing for sure is that I believe this, that depression comes from outside, but there's a seed within every human being that triggers, just like anger, just like joy. It's like there's a seed within every human being that's multifaceted, and that seed is can be triggered by outside sources. So, depressive disorder, also known as depression, is a common mental disorder. It involves a depressed mood or loss of pleasure, like you said earlier, Jim, interest in activities for long periods of time. Notice that for long periods of time. So you could be depressed for 2 days, 3 days. That might not be depression. You might be grieving. You might be sad, but it may not be depression. There's different, and you were kind of touching a little bit. You alluded to that a little bit, Jim, earlier. Depression is different from regular mood changes. See, depression is different from regular mood changes and feelings about everyday life. Now, you said earlier, Jim, that I mean,
Santos,
I've witnessed people commit suicide from this thing. So it's to me, it's real, and I've often asked myself, why would somebody commit suicide? You know, go ahead, Jim.
yeah, Santos, I think it's beyond a mental disorder. I think it's a physical disorder because the feelings that you get inside, you know, those feelings that you get, that is the thing that can bring us down. I mean, you can think something, think happy, but inside you have this anxiety, you have this despair, these feelings, and and that's what people who are addicts, right? They go to their addiction to get out of that feeling. I mean, whether it be the gambler, right? Depression, right? I feel better, get those dopamine hits at the casino. I feel better doing that the heroin or the drugs or drink. I feel better. We want to get to that. We want to get to good feelings of calm and peace. You know, you know. There's two routes. I mean, there's different routes to get there, right? You can go through chemicals and you can go through addictions like gambling, right? You can get to those temporary things, or you can kind of work out another way to get to those places of feeling calm, feeling peaceful, getting out of that funk of depression. There's there. I mean, not always work for everyone. You know, um, I remember, one guy who suffered from depression, anxiety. He exercised. He tried to exercise. Exercise didn't do it for him. It didn't do it for him. For
Yeah.
me, exercise. I ran today. I did a half marathon. I ran about 13 miles today, and I feel great. I feel very calm. You know, it's like there's like no negativity can get inside of me right now because of the way I feel after this exercise. So we talked about it before. Exercise can go out and help you. It helps me.
Yeah.
For other people, there could be other things. It could be talking with other people, making connections, having someone
Cold
listen to
plunge.
them.
An ice plunge.
You know, an
An
ice plunge,
ice
yeah.
plunge.
But all these things,
Oh, I would not. An ice plunge. They'd have to throw me in there. But for some people, they jump right in like it was a hot tub, and exactly doing what you were referring to. It releases endorphins and it keeps same thing that's going on with gambling. But the problem is that the gambler's medicating his depression, and it's compounding.
mhm,
It's
making
compounding.
things worse,
Yeah, it's
making
it's
things
it's
worse.
invisibly compounding, and the gambler doesn't see it. He doesn't see it, but other people see it. And then when he stops, well, there's you remember you said, I don't know, was it 2 years ago? You said to me, collateral damage. There's going to be collateral damage. So you want to minimize the casualties. We're at war. The gambler's at war. Depression is like war. So you want to minimize the casualties. When do we really get into this? And as soon as possible, because the longer it goes, the more bodies, the more death, the more sin, the more decay. Uh, Depression. Can you see the screen? I don't know if you guys can see the screen. I can see it. Uh, is it visible?
Uh, says depression can be caused by family
Yeah.
history, personality, serious medical illness, drug and alcohol use. There you go. Uh huh. That's better.
Yeah. So we can see, but the thing is that I want to, we can manage. You can't manage. You can manage your life through depression. You can't manage depression. Depression is going to be around you like people. Sometimes people pass away. Well, maybe that person, hard to say it sometimes, but a person can be a depression for you. That person's gone, depression's gone. But there's always going to be depression. It's always going to be around you. When we learn to accept it, that the fact that it is around you, but you don't have to let it in your house, you don't have to welcome it in your home. And the better that you get at identification, the more at peace you will be with yourself, the less gambling you will do, or maybe no gambling at all. Because part of the reason why you are gambling is because you're depressed, or whatever it is that you're doing, some other thing. Jim, you talked about you ran. I did some exercise today, even though I'm hurting. I pushed myself for, I don't know, it was maybe just 15, 20 minutes. 20, that was enough to get something flowing. And maybe later on I'll do another 20 minutes or whatever. Might be just stretching. Um, Serious medical illness, drug and alcohol use, life events such as the death of a loved one, trauma, divorce, isolation, and lack of support, medical conditions such as chronic pain. This is something that I'm dealing with. In fact, I'm working on retirement. I really am right now. Such as chronic pain and chronic condition. Well, I don't have diabetes. I think my dad had. Depression is treatable, right? But here's the thing: I've talked to psychiatrists, I've talked to counselors, I've talked to coaches, I've talked to doctors, and um, the only one that can honestly fix your depression is you. Number one, you understand it's there, you agree with that, and then you begin to identify the sources. What's causing you. What do you think may be causing you to become depressed? For some it might be really easy to see this, um, but where did I didn't want to go? Persistent feelings of sadness, loss of interest in activities you once enjoyed, difficulty handling daily and listen to this. You think the gambler is happy when he goes to the casino once you've been problem gambling, you don't go to for even daily activities that a loss of interest in activities that you once enjoyed. You're going to go do it. You're going to go because you want that adrenaline. You want that rush. You want that whatever it is that you're getting out of it. That something that you're getting out of it, and you're going for it, regardless win or loss.
Yeah, Santos. I think about
Let me get out of
the
this
way we
screen.
see things. A lot of people can go ahead and identify the source of their depression or the problem, but they can say, you know what, I don't have any choices. It's a hopeless situation. I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. I mean, let's say that, it's like I'm in a terrible marriage. I'm not getting along, and it's like, you know, but I can't leave because of the children. I have to stay with the children. So I have to. It's a horrible situation. So I don't have any hope. I'm in there's despair, right? So you feel like, you don't have any way out, and it's like I think seeking knowledge is important to go out and break through those boundaries of the mind, right? It's like, I mean, there's always possibility for you to go ahead and get out of a bad situation, right? Um, but I mean, it's like sometimes we feel so hopeless and full of despair because in our mind we say there's no way out. There's no way out of my situation, you know.
Yep.
So
And
I'm
you
just
know,
gonna go ahead
Jim,
and just
when we get to that point right there, when you get to that point right there, and you say there's no way out, um, Bob just said, I agree with what Jim said. We talked about it's physical. Well, depression causes physical changes within your body. Depression doesn't really start out inside you. I don't believe it does. I believe that there's a trigger inside you that causes something to grow inside you, but something from the outside may trigger that. Now, can it be triggered? Uh, can depression be triggered from within yourself? I possibly, but I think that if you are triggering depression with yourself, obviously you're going to have knowledge of that, especially if it's something that's beginning that you've never experienced before. You're going to, but when it's coming from the outside, a lot of people, I truly believe this, that people hold on to things inside, especially men, and you can get, there's illnesses that can come out of that. It's got to come out somewhere. Your body your nervous system begins to pick up that you're depressed. The cells in your body begin to react differently to the ingredients that are trying to come into your body because your cells are depressed. And then it works into your mind. So yes, I believe that it can be a really horrible physical thing. Maybe even they've termed psychosomatic illnesses. People have illnesses and they don't know where they're coming from, but there's an illness of some kind. They're depressed. It's a depression, I believe. And again, it just, to me, it all comes from that seed of sin in our lives. You see, we all have that seed that we must control. You have that second nature. You have that you have the physical human nature, and then you have your spiritual. There's a part of you that if you don't control, that part of you can go haywire. And that part of you can cause you to go haywire physically, if that makes sense. Uh, I I yield to the Bible today more than ever. I yield to prayer more than ever. I've got other things that I do, life hacking, but I'm really looking at myself, and I'm looking at outside, and I'm looking at other people, because a lot of people do come, they show up in my circle of influence, and I'm like, well, okay, why did we cross paths? We are talking about uh, managing your life through depression. Because if I said, well, man, you can crush depression, you can be sure. I try to keep my stature. I do my best to smile every day. But that doesn't mean that I don't face these kinds of things. Of course I do. I would be a complete lying sinner if I said that, man, you know, yeah, have I got gambling under my belt? Yeah, gambling is one thing, depression's another. So, and by the way, I what helps me also from not being depressed is carrying palm, carrying palm.
What's
Uh,
that?
there you go. I knew I would get a response. It's actually, and I do recommend this, by the way, because they call it POM. I don't think it stands for peace of mind, but it's actually POM. It's one of the highest, one of the most potent uh, deterrent sprays. You don't want this in your eyes, in other words, or on your face. It's it's
Oh,
it's
it's
pretty
a
good to
mace.
keep people away.
Mace.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. It's I call it high powered mace, but they call it palm.
Okay.
So um so it kind of gives me peace of mind. But yeah, so oh, by the way, let me get into this interlude here. I want to thank you for being with me here. Those of you that have been here with me, time is moving along. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I appreciate it. Listen, if you feel supported in some way, if you do, if you don't feel supported, then this message is not for you. But if you feel supported, make sure that you subscribe, turn your notifications to all. You know, share a video. I established Soldiers of Self Mastery to give, to share, to bring in 1 million souls. Will that happen? 1 million souls out of the fire into the PNGZ. A thumbs up when you can. If you can like this live right now, if you can share this live right now, if you can do this, if you can, I'd appreciate it. So would others. Comment and keep the number 23. You know, if you feel supported in some way, if you truly feel supported, you want to donate $23, you want to donate 23 cents, you want to donate $23,000, 23 million. I'll accept it gladly. I'll find a bank somewhere and then we'll just use it for the mission. Well, Santos, man, if I sent you 23 million, you might end up buying a new car, and of course I would. I'd get out of debt and I'd no, you know, I'm just joking. Whatever you want to do is as a support, it comes in and it goes out because that's what I do with this mission. You know, I do my best with it. So please keep that in mind if you feel supported. 7 day challenge is still on. Every Sunday, I'm challenging those of you that are coming on this broadcast, and I'm asking you to challenge yourself, just like I'm challenging myself every 7 days. Every 7 days, no gambling. No gambling. 7 times 7 times 7, you're going to get stronger and you're going to whip. You're going to whip the depression. You're going to whip it. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
one of the things that can go and take us out of depression is we need to grow our hope. We have to grow our hope. If we don't have any hope, you know, we'll just spiral into despair, right? So, how do we go ahead and grow our hope? I think we have to manufacture victories, wins. We need to go out and try to have as many wins as possible. It could be small wins like cleaning up your room or something like that, or just straightening out, doing the dishes, cleaning up the yard, sweeping something. And I think if you promise, I think Jim Rohn said this. Your self worth grows when you do the things you promised yourself that you would. So, setting certain goals and being disciplined to get those things done, finish those things. And those act as little victories, which can grow our hope that, yes, you know what? I can make things better. I can make my life better. If I can make my life better, I can go and kick this depression. Little things, get busy. get busy. I think, sometimes I think the people in like the United States, the first world countries, have the most depression because they have too much time on their hands, you know, goofing around, screwing around on social media. I'm not saying that entails everyone who has depression, but you know, I mean, if other countries, they're working hard. They got to go ahead and make ends meet. I got to go ahead and get work done big time. So when you get yourself busy, when you get things accomplished, right? You know, you have that sense of self worth, I believe, and that grows hope. It's like, wow, I can do this. I can get myself out of this rut or whatever. You know,
Yep.
and I think that and it push it, that work, I think, puts us in situations where we do face adversity. We get challenged,
Which is
but
needed.
if we stay yeah, if we focus on it, we can overcome those challenges. It's like, wow, I knocked that thing out. Once again, another victory, a victory on top of a victory. Not only did you reach your goal, you knocked down those challenges that try to hold you back. So I think, we need to grow our hope, right? We got to grow our hope by, developing those victories, creating victories. And like you said, Santos, you talked about sin, right? You know, if you work towards what is right, if you do the things that are right, right? Stay disciplined in that, you know, you can get those victories, you know,
Yep.
because you know that you're doing the right thing. You're not
Yeah.
wasting your money.
You'll be able to fight off depression when you smell it. You'll be able to smell
Yeah.
depression. Like you ever watch the animals? They're really interesting how they use their noses, huh? The cats and dogs. They're just
Sniffing
I don't know.
around.
I just started recently noticing that, these animals. I never really thought about it, and we need to be like, you know, we need to have the ability to smell these things that are just coming. Yeah, and I know it's right there, and
And
that's it.
it's like that. My cat, he's sniffing out for good things. He's looking for good things. Sniffing out for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
little the food or the little bugs, whatever he
yeah.
wants, the
They're,
lizards, you know.
yeah, they're good to have for those, yeah, kinds of things.
So sniffing out for the positive things, for the good things that will work towards us. That's
Yeah,
what we need, because we can get into that mentality of sniffing for bad things, right? All
that
the
have
wrong things, all the
it has
horrible
a bad
things. Oh my
aroma,
gosh.
like the gambling, any bad addiction, trauma, past thinking, of damage that was done to you as a child. People think about that all the time, and believe me, I've had to battle that myself. When you have been as a child, you went through trauma, severe trauma as a child. We're talking about 3, 4, 5 years of age. Um, these are things that you I ask myself, how was I able to come out of all of this stuff? Because man, I used to go through some real deep depression. But I know why. Obviously, I know why. I've learned, and by I think reading the scriptures has really helped me tremendously. Reading the Bible, just meditating on the Bible has been especially lately to me. I'll be completely upfront with folks. I'm not even and probably it's because of the way the world is changing. That's why I'll say this: gamblers that are gambling today are headed. They're not just headed for a deep depression. They're headed for some mortal damage because of what's happening. Technology's advancing, things are happening. We've got wars and rumors of wars, and we've got people rising up and all these kinds of things. And instead of us really being focused individually on ourselves to become whatever it is that we need to become during this time, because we're all in survival mode, we're distracted, we're depressed, gambling, we're doing all this stuff. And yeah, and then our bodies are sick. I admit I feel it in my body, man. I'm 57. I just turned 50. I feel it. But my mind feels real strong. Like I feel like a 5-year old, a 6-year old. So I don't know. My creativity is great, but sometimes if I go and push myself at the park, I feel it. So I got to learn how to work through. It's like working through depression, right? Work through it. You manage your life through it. We'll never get rid of depression until the very end. When we're not here or when God says no more.
You talked about survival mode there, Santos. Negativity, that attitude of negativity, is a survival mode. I think technique. It's a tool, because to be negative means that I'm not going to take a chance to get myself out of this situation. I'm not going to be take a risk. I'm
Yeah,
not going to have any hope. I don't. I'm not even going to go and try it. So if I am negative, that keeps me in the safe zone from taking a chance, you see? Because if I do take a chance, there's a chance that I'm going to fall flat on my face. I'm going to fall flat on my face and I'm going to be worse off. So it's better for me to be negative. It's better for me to be in despair. It's better for me to be hopeless.
that's the
You know,
trick. Yeah,
so
that's
and
the
you got that has to be short circuited. You
that's the
know,
lie right there. That all of that exactly. That's all the lie that people are believing. People are believing that. And how do you? I because I believed it. And there might be an area of my life that's hidden away somewhere that I haven't spotted yet. That's probably believing that life is a journey, And but we can live with peace, and that's the important thing, to live with peace, right? We can have peace. You can have peace if you learn how to speak to yourself on a daily basis. You can have peace. You can defeat depression if you know how to stretch your smile a little bit every day, right? You can defeat depression that comes upon you. These are little things, little life hacks I've learned, I've practiced, and they've worked very well with me, for me, you know. But deep down inside, yeah, we have to be able to manage our lives to be able to be at peace. It's one of the things they teach you when you're a soldier. You don't panic. You got to work on your panic button. Don't let that thing go off. We also have a panic button that goes off within us, right? We nervous breakdown. If we're not careful, you get panicked so far. What happens if you don't put a stop to it? If you don't get the attention you need, it becomes a nervous breakdown. So we have all of these triggers inside of us. Um, Daniel Green, I believe his name is Daniel Green. He talks about the shadow, the dark shadow. I call it sin. The Bible calls it sin, sinful nature. And we all have it. It's a dual nature. We all have it. You wrestle with it with yourself on a daily basis. And, you may be winning, you may be losing, but that's the reality. And that's why sometimes I tell people, hey, look in the mirror, have a conversation with, they don't want to go in the mirror. Mm-mm. You ain't going to go in the mirror and talk to yourself because you're afraid. You talked about that earlier, afraid of failure. But um, I want to go ahead and play the last few minutes. Go ahead, Jim. Share. I'm going to play a few minutes of my buddy here. Send some good, encouraging words out for the last few minutes. And but you want to share something, Jim, before I get on this clip?
um, yeah, I mean, like, I guess depression, you know, or yeah, depression. I think it's the difference between the reality of the situation and your expectation, right? But the interesting thing is that we can kind of manufacture our expectations and our realities. What is our reality anyway? You know, I think that's how we see it in our mind. We can go ahead and put ourselves down. We're in the worst of times, or we can say, you know what, you know, we're in a great time and it's going to get better. I
Well,
mean,
you
what
create the
causes us,
environment. Yeah, you
right?
create the environment. But the truth is, Jim, things are not well around the world. They're not. Casinos are losing a lot of money. Casinos are losing a lot of money.
That
So
could
there's a
be
lot of
good.
things going on.
Or could,
But we create. See, you create the environment. You create your environment in your home. You create wherever you go. We create an environment in here, right here, an environment for creativity. At least that's what I come in here, hoping to get better for Monday, for Tuesday. Somebody might say, I might be able to answer a question. Somebody might give me some insight. We learn from each other. Um, one of the things the worst thing that you can think is that you know it all. You know, that's depression right there. That is a severe depression if you think that you know it all. And the wisest man is the one that knows he doesn't. And sometimes, yeah, we get in our own way. How are casinos losing a lot of
yeah.
money? Well, a lot of casinos have shut down. Some of the bigger ones have expanded a little bit. But if you look at what's really happening, the casinos are desperate to get more people in their casinos. They're not making money. They might be breaking even, maybe. But on top of that, we can't deny the fact that the dollar is losing value. The dollar's losing value. So if a casino holds so much money and the dollar's losing value, they're not making. They could be bringing in all kinds of money. Honest money. In fact, I'm gonna read this proverb again. The heart. What was it? He that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house. He that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house. That's Proverb 15, verse 27. The heart of the righteous studieth to answer, but the mouth of the but the mouth of the wicked poureth out evil things. You know what? Shame on me if I hear myself. Sometimes I catch myself saying things that I don't want to say, that I shouldn't say, that I need to change. And that's how I want to live my life. If I'm here in front of the camera, in front of the whole world, and I say something, I'm going to retract and I'm going to say, no, I don't think I was correct. I need to change or whatever. That's the way that I want to see my life. Make sense? All right. Talking about casinos. So as far as I'm concerned, casinos can keep losing money because they're not getting any mine. So in that sense, they lost. Yeah. Let me get into this here. Life changing 1 hour. We're not going to play 1 hour. We're just going to play a couple minutes, but I think it'll be well worth it here.
I don't believe there's a human being on earth who doesn't experience periods of depression, times when, as far as he's concerned, the whole world can close up shop and go fishing. The experts say these periods of feeling low, unhappy, and depressed are a normal part of living, provided we don't go too low when we're depressed or too high at the happy end of the cycle. If your periods of depression are too deep or last too long, you could probably use some professional help. But we all experience these highs and lows. And I've been in a real beauty of a low for the past day or so. Incidentally, these periods of depression almost always follow an illness, even a slight cold. Well, last Sunday morning, I was awakened by the telephone at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was a man I'd known years before who happened to be passing through town and just wanted to call and say hello. At 5 on a Sunday morning, he wanted to call and say hello. But once I'm up for good, so I went to the kitchen to make a pot of coffee. The moment that telephone rang, I was aware that I was depressed. In fact, the telephone had also awakened my wife, who took one look at me and asked me what was wrong. I told her I was feeling a little depressed, and she gave me a very cheering message. If I remember correctly, she said, "Oh, really?" She always has one of those great morale boosters right at the tip of her tongue. But as I was making the coffee, I thought that Even though I felt low enough to crawl under the door, I couldn't think of a single human being on earth with whom I'd trade places. And this seemed to have a good effect. And I began to wonder if this is true of everyone. Would anyone agree to physically change places with another person, to forget completely his own life and past, family and friends, to lose completely his own personality, his own mind and abilities, and take on those of another human being, a stranger? Would an old man sitting in the park willingly change places with the child being pushed by in a stroller? Would any woman, regardless of her present life, change places with any other woman on earth? What do you think? Would you? Can you think of a person alive today with whom you'd willingly trade places? I mentioned this to my wife. I asked her the same question, and she said, certainly not. She said no one would, because it would mean losing one's identity, and that a person's identity is his most important possession. Now, to me, this was all very interesting, and I must admit that it went away a long way toward restoring my attitude toward myself and the world. And the psychologists agree with my wife. They say that the most important thing to a human being is his identity as a person, and that's the thing he wouldn't trade. And now, a moment for this message. Bring the subject of trading places with someone else up the next time the family sits down at a meal. Give it some thought on your own. It has a way of getting us back on course. How about it? Is there anyone you'd trade with? Thank you. Harvey Mind.
Is there
Looks like Santos is gone. Hmm. I don't know if I'm live. So I don't know.
bit of a technical
One of
difficulty?
the oh here he comes.
All right.
Are you there, Santos?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, all
Anyhow,
right.
so we've got a few minutes. Go ahead, Jim. I'm gonna let you share. We've got a few minutes, and stay with me. I want to make sure that I share at the end. There's a call to action. Uh, I'm not depressed. I'm working on it. All right, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, yeah. I remember you talked about working through depression, and I think it's good to understand that you're going through a hard time, and figuring out a way through that hard time. I think you can go and say that it could be beneficial in the long run. I mean, it doesn't feel good. We don't want to feel depressed and sad, hopeless, with despair. Um, but you know, it could be a signal. It could be a message. That something's not right in our life, and we need to start looking around for a different way of going about our life. I don't know. I mean, when something doesn't feel right, could just be a message. And I don't know. A lot of bad things happen to people, and I think that the reason why bad things happen to people is to give testimony. I guess you give a lot of testimony of all the things that happen to you, and therefore you can help. You know, I mean, the horrible things that happen, to people. Um,
Yeah.
it's like they think they're alone. They think they're alone. It's like you're not alone. You're not alone. I went through it, and this is how I handle it. And you can do it too. Because I'm no different than you. You know, and
You
if
just
I
have
can
to
do it, you
find,
can do it, right?
yeah, you just have to find. You may find what I share may not work, but maybe I inspired you to find your way. Right? You may not want to journal. You may not want to watch a video and take notes. You may not want to do that, but you got inspired to do something and you found an idea. So that's yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
your topic today. It's like, I mean, there's probably reached out to a lot of people who are kind of like maybe depressed, but they don't really know it. It's like, you know what?
Well, we're
I
gonna
need
do
to
this.
go and analyze, what's going on in my life, my feelings. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna do this again. I think we're gonna take on this subject for a couple of weekends here. I think we are gonna look at this thing with depression and depression. It also goes along. It ties with just I don't know. It's rehearsed thinking. I call it stinking thinking, but yeah, it has to do with MMPC. What is MMPC, Pedro? If you're still here, MMPC stands for mind mouth power, mind mouth power congruency. It's a term that I came up with. It's like if your life is moving in the right direction, then you've got good mind mouth power congruency. But if your life is going in reverse and you're falling and you're not, then your mind mouth power is in reverse. It's going backwards. So you need to find a way to turn the gear, right? Mind mouth power congruency. Congruency, congruent. It's all about working you, working you, figuring you. You're a unique person. You've got valuable gifts. You've got value. You've got things inside of you that you're not aware of. You've been through. I just made 57 years and I was looking at my life and I'm like, wow, wow. I've been through some stuff. We all have. But I look at my stuff. I don't know if you look at your stuff that you've been through. I do. I go back, I meditate, and I visualize and I can see the pictures, vivid pictures in my mind. It's interesting. And I didn't do that before. I do it more and more. I've been doing it all along. That's one of the reasons why I've been able to get out of gambling, also because I've built a picture in my mind. But when you go back and you see images and you see those things that you've been through, and you say, "My God, I've been through that. I went through that thing. Man, that was set up to destroy me. That thing that I went through back there when I was 7, or that was set up in my life by something to destroy, and I made it through that, and then I made it through the other thing." You look at your life and you go back. Glad you brought that up. Instead of looking at the wall of shame, look at the wall of fame, right? Look at what you've accomplished. If you feel defeated, especially depressed, look at what you've accomplished. Somebody here, was it Pedro? I think he said he passed. Yeah, passed the 7-day challenge, which I'm going to issue right now. The 7-day challenge is basically 7 days where you don't do no gambling. You commit to yourself and you tell yourself that you're not going to gamble. You take a hold of you, your inner being, that person that wants to run loose like a wild boar. And you take that person and you say, no, no, I'm in control. You're not going to gamble this week. Literally, that's how I do it. Not saying that I have to do it because I'm gambling free. I'm in the PNGZ. I will never gamble again. I will never, ever again gamble. There's no need in my life for it. So, but I'm going along with you guys because it's a 7-day challenge. So for the next 7 days, I challenge myself and I challenge you to challenge yourself. And pick a video this week. Here's another challenge to help you with your depression. Pick a video, watch 2 videos, uh, pick 2 videos somewhere. Or one video. Pick 2 videos, then pick one video. Okay, write a little summary of that video for yourself. Why did you watch that video? What was it that you got out of? Write that down for you. It's your little mantra. You keep it, put in your purse, your wallet, your pocket, whatever. I challenge you to do that this week. So, with that said, I don't have anything else. We're going to end the broadcast here. We went over for 4 minutes. Let me see. Jim, Pedro has a question here. Let me see if you can. Hey, Jim, you used to have a gambling problem?
yeah, it was a stock market. That's unfortunately, with the cryptocurrency market too, to a certain extent. So stay away from that stuff. You get high
Yeah.
on the big gains. And then you chase your losses. Oh, I'll buy this stock. It went down, but I can go ahead and make it up on this stock. And after losing too much money, it's like time to get back to reality. So it
Yeah.
was an experience. It was an experience. But there's different kinds of gambles. I like to gamble on shortcuts. I like to take shortcuts, and that has bit me in the butt. I can't tell you how many times. I'll give you an example. It's like, oh, I think I'm going to go out and make a right hand or left hand turn on Main because I'm gambling that the train's not coming. But every
Yeah.
single time I do that, the train's coming and I waste a trip. Stupid things
Yep.
like that. Trying to take shortcuts in life. That those are gambles, and I tell you what, it bites you in the ass. It bites you in the ass when
Yeah.
you try to take shortcuts. You know.
And sometimes, yeah, they're bigger gambles. But let me see. Natalie has a question. You know what? I might stay here. If I get a question, another question or two, I'll hang out here. ¿Alguna vez te sientes tentado a apostar? Natalie, sí, pero no. Sí viene la tentación, pero yo no tengo el deseo. Ya el deseo para mí, jugar en los casinos, ya no. Eso es un amor perdido. Es un amor perdido, sinceramente. Yeah. So, um, se puede llegar a ese lugar, you know. I was answering the question here to Natalie. She says, "Have I ever been tempted? Do I feel tempted? I feel tempted to escape to go." Yeah, I do, but it's a lost love. It's a lost love for me. There was a time I thought I loved the casino and the slut machines and all that, and we made love. I would wrap my arms around the casino. In fact, don't even. I remember I used to go to the casino. Don't get on my slut machine. I'll argue with you and I'll stand behind you and we'll fight. I remember those days. That's how passionate we would get. We'd argue over these machines. That's my machine. And it just so I'm just I'm awesomely grateful that I can sit here before you and tell you that if you're struggling with gambling, uh first of all, you're not alone. There's a way out. There is a way out. I'm going to encourage you to stay here, come back and search your heart, because again, you don't want to fall into deeper depression. If you're in depression, you don't want to fall. That you can avoid it. All right, Natalie, Luna, thank you. Ken Smith, Jesse, Pedro, um, Sumaya, good to see you. Angela, out of time. Rice Goat, Barry, good to see you guys. It was Race, Ken Smith, Barry, Captain Hook. Turned off my financial faucets and wrote down a plan. There we go. Blaze Journey, good to see you, buddy. And let me see who else was here. There might have been. I want to thank Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Tristan Boski. That's an interesting fella. I think we know a Tristan. I wonder if that's Tristan that used to come around. And some things had happened there, transpired. Anyways, hope you're doing well all the way up in Canada. All right. With that said, folks, I want to thank you once again. Walk away with something. Please, please, please always take notes. And so we'll be talking a little bit more about how to work and blast through depression, because we need to daily. So next Sunday, be back. Bring a friend. We'll be here at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hopefully, Coach Jim, Teacher Jim, all the way from Tucson, will be with us, and you'll be with us. And that's all I have. I'm running out of fuel here. Got to go to the gas station. No Red Bull tonight. All right, Jim.
Okay, there, Santos. You have a good week, and I'll
Y'all
see
have
you
a
on
safe.
Sunday.
Yes, or I may go live before Sunday. Never know. Depends. how the
Okay.
world is turning as the world turns, like that soap opera.
Yeah, we'll look.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you, guys. Jim, be safe, man.
Thank you. Good night. You too.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. All right. We'll see you on the next broadcast live.